What's going on, everybody? Callahan45 back here again with another episode of American Truck Simulator, and as you can see, I brought it back. The Pink Pete is back, y'all, and it's not the original Pink Pete because, as I said in my previous couple videos, I couldn't use my primary profile that I had the actual Pink Pete, the very first one, in, and so I had to create another one, and so I pretty much took a pre-existing 389 that I had and just converted it over. Um, Not much difference. Put chrome rear fenders on it. I put the coffin sleeper on it with the aero kit. Other than that, it's pretty much the same truck, same engine, the 840 C15 Cat, 18 speed. And I actually have a decent amount of traffic that's actually willing to let me go, but I'm just sitting here talking to y'all. But we're just going to make a quick trip. It's going to be a pretty short video. We're going from Sacramento, where one of my headquarters is at, to Reno. It says 160 miles, 4 hours, 10 minutes, so it should be a pretty easy trip. So, oh, jeez, I thought that truck was going to rear end that car. I better get out of here before I cause an accident. Yeah, well, thank you. Hopefully nothing's coming this way. Don't hit the curb. Ooh, got it. How's everybody doing out there in the internet world? Hope you're doing good. I am doing great. I was thinking about this game while uploading the last episode of part 2 of the trip to Tucson, and I kind of get curious once in a while, people that play this game, if they, I know there's a bunch of people out there that play this game that are, fans of trucks, or want that close experience of what it's like to actually drive a truck without, am I going to get ticketed? Nah, I made it through in time. Without actually driving a truck or whatever the case may be, and got me thinking about how long I've had like this infatuation with trucks. And I can remember the first time that I guess it started when I was a really small kid, and my dad used to work for the county that we lived in, doing road maintenance and building roads and plowing snow and all that good type stuff. And he would have to haul equipment to job sites, stuff like that, and usually it was something that he would have to do after his main work hours, because he didn't have time, because where we lived to get down to the county yard was like 45 minutes. And so on top of all his daily duties he had to do and everything else, a lot of times he would just do it after everybody pretty much had left, and then bring it up when traffic was limited, on the main roads and stuff like that. And because we lived in the mountains, and there's a lot of switchbacks and tight corners and everything, so the less traffic you had to deal with, the better off you were. But I remember one time he asked me if I wanted to go with him, and because I used to go with him a lot, not only on job type activities, but I was always riding with Dad somewhere. We were always going somewhere, whether it was to get parts for a car that we were working on, or up to the ranch to do something up there. I was always with him. And so he drove down to the county yard, and he picked up this, I can't remember what it was now. I think it was a Kenworth, an old Kenworth, with a drop deck flatbed on the back with, I believe he was hauling a grader. And I got to watch how he had detached the trailer and pulled the grader up on there and everything. Pardon me. And put everything back together, and it just fascinated me for some reason. Then getting into the truck and seeing all the switches on the dash and everything, to me it was almost like trying to drive a spaceship. And watching my dad shift the truck, and I knew even then the basics of driving his pickup, and it was a stick shift. And I was always curious how come I never seen him use a clutch when he shifted gears. And I can remember asking him about that, and then then it just started from there. And then every truck I was curious about because there were so many different types, and he was telling me about all the different transmissions, and it got me really infatuated with them. And I just loved the trucks. I loved the size, the big old trucks hauling heavy loads and equipment and dirt and everything. And it was just kind of one of those things that every time I'd see a truck, I was always interested. And if I saw a particularly, you know, pretty truck, I was even more interested. And I even grew up in my hometown. There was a truck driver. His name was Forrest Cooper. We just called him Forey. And he known me all my life, and he was a long haul trucker. Had an old cab over Freightliner, White's Freightliner. And I used to make trips with him once in a while because he used to deliver hay up into the mountains up in the pack stations. If you don't know what a pack station is, it's basically people go up there and they take rides up in the hills and everything and campouts. And he would bring their loads of hay for the horses and mules. And I'd go up there and I'd help him unload the trailer. And watching that man, and it was a long wheelbase truck up these, tight cornered mountain roads and two laners and blind corners and everything. It was for me it was kind of white knuckle it. For him it was just another day on the job. And to watch how cool he would be driving that truck up steep grades, down steep grades, 7% grades and everything, and up 7% grades. It just fascinated me even more. And that one had a double sticker transmission in it, which blew my mind. Watched him pretty much let go of the steering wheel, grab both of the stick shifts, and then manipulate them both at the exact same time without the clutch and never grinding a gear. He just fascinated the hell out of me. The things that he could do in that truck. But on top, he'd been driving that truck before I was born, probably 15, 20 years. And so, I mean, he knew that truck intimately, inside and out, the operations. He had it restored a couple different times, not like showroom restoration, but, had it gone through. And I think he had a couple engine swaps. And I never did find out, and I've always been curious. He passed away last year. And one thing I always wanted to ask him, and failed to every time that I talked to him, is how many miles the chassis of that truck had on it. Not engine miles, just the chassis of the truck. And I think I would have been baffled, really, though, because I know he had a crap ton of miles on that truck. And he might have bought that brand new. Don't quote me, but I think he might have bought that brand new. So all highway miles would have been put on by him, and there was a lot of them. But yeah, so the infatuation with trucks and the love of trucks had started, when I was very small. And I think a lot of it had to do with just the size of them, because, I mean, when you're a kid, they're gigantic. As an adult, they're pretty big, but as a kid, man, they're gigantic, I can remember getting in the truck that my dad was driving and everything, and having to kind of leap a little bit to even get my foot up on the step to get into the truck. I couldn't even open the door. I had to jump on the first step, open the door, kind of swing around it to get in. But you felt like you're on top of the world when you're in that passenger seat. You could see everything, Never been that high before in a vehicle, You kind of felt powerful and kind of scared at the same time. But, as a kid, I was pretty fearless and everything. And not until I actually, drove a truck for the first time did I understand, just what it takes to drive a truck, Me and my friends used to always pretend play like we were truck drivers. And my dad had an old snow plow that he used to plow the snow in the wintertime, and it was also a dump truck that he used to haul asphalt and sand and dirt and everything in on the off season. And I used to get in that and pretend that it was a tractor trailer and everything. And the steering wheel was almost about as wide as I could spread my hands out to grab this thing. It was a huge steering wheel, and it was just one of those things that you remember. As a kid, those kind of things especially, I remember being in new trucks and different trucks and everything. All my fondest memories have been in trucks. A lot of good memories have been in trucks. And I have a lot of buddies that have driven trucks. I had family members that drove trucks. I have a cousin and an uncle that are kind of doing a father-son team right now, driving truck across the country and everything. And So I've always been around trucks. My dad drove truck a little bit. He kind of did as a side job for a couple years, about once every 3 or 4 months. He got flown into Utah. Is it Utah? I believe it was Utah. Utah, or one of the northern states up there. And the guy would fly him up there. He would pick up a truck, and then it was already loaded, and then he would drive it to Nevada to a military base. And I come to find out he was hauling what they call a hot load, which is basically munitions or rockets and stuff for the military. And I thought that was pretty cool. He said that whenever he got to the base, they had a staging area for the trucks, and they'd pull in there, and they had to release the kingpin and pull the truck away from the load, and then a helicopter would come in from the base, pick it up outside the base, and take it inside because they weren't allowed access inside the base with the load. So they had to helicopter the loads in with the trailers, and I thought that would be really cool to see. But he that was back when I was a teenager, and he only did that, like I said, 2 or 3 times a year at best, just to make a little extra money now and then. So yeah, I've been around trucks all my life. I've always been in love with trucks. Um, I don't know. One of my friends said that it could become a sickness. They said it's one of those things that you kind of get infatuated with, and I don't know if it's to that degree. Because I've driven trucks, and I haven't exactly been heartbroken about getting out of a truck. And I haven't been chomping on the bit to get back into a truck. Oh shoot! I'm about to miss my turn. Okay. Man, they got all these new intersection and everything that just confuse the hell out of me on where I'm supposed to go. See if I can sneak on here. No traffic? Oh, of course I gotta get right back off. Why don't they have like a side street you could have done without having to do that? Pardon me. So yeah, I've always been infatuated with trucks. I love trucks. I love the look of trucks, American trucks especially. I never really did see much of the European trucks until here in the last few years. I never knew what they looked like, and they primarily run cab overs, smaller wheelbases, which is understandable for the roads that they have to travel on and everything. It makes perfect sense. And but I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just so used to the American trucks that I have a hard time finding the appeal in the European trucks and that kind of stuff. But even though I might not like the way they look, they're still a truck, and I still respect them, and I still respect those that drive them and do the hard work that they have to do day in and day out, driving hard miles and everything to deliver everything that pretty much you own in your house, was on a truck at one point in time. And I think a lot of people lose that sight of exactly, they look at truck drivers as dirty, mean, or you know belligerent drivers and everything, and cut people off, and you know not all are, not a lot more aren't than are, and they do something a lot of people can't do. You know, it's not like anybody can just go out and drive a truck and be good at it and enjoy it. And there's some people like my buddy that um, he's driving a truck and he's hauling long hours, long loads, or long miles, driving long miles. And he's loving it. There's a lot of people out there that can't do it. They've tried, and you know what? There's no harm in it. If it's not for you, it's not for you. If you give it a shot and you're like, man, this is not for me, well, at least you can say you tried it rather than just always wondering what it would be like to drive one or to do something. I guess that's a good lesson in life in general. Is if quit wandering so much, just go out and do it. Nothing says you have to continue to do it. Oh, I hate these Eddies and whatever it is places. They have the worst docks in the whole game. They're just so small. Luckily, it's later at night and they don't have any. I gotta go up on the curb to even. And the game really needs to put those unload indicators of what you want to do further out into the driveways rather than right there, because it makes everything just so much more difficult. I see they got rid of the backup beepers. I'm wondering if that's a new gameplay option you can turn on and off, or if they just got rid of them. I don't know why. I don't know if this one's on the far side or right. No, it's on the far side. I didn't know if it's on the far side or right on the other side of the corner of the building. Come on, you. I really wish I had bigger monitors so I could utilize the mirrors better, but where my monitors sit to where I sit in correlation to the room, well, I mean, on the desk, it's a pretty big desk. It has really no detail to it, and it's really hard to see towards the back of the mirrors. So it just makes it more difficult. If I had a bigger monitor where I could, the mirrors would be bigger, I'd be a lot better off. God, I hate these parking lots. Yeah, let's just back her in there. I don't care if she's a little crooked. They can still unload her. Alright. That was a short little trip. Maybe I'll do some more longer ones like we did with the Black 351, instead of... Because, like I mentioned in the last video, when they rescaled the maps in this game, the trips that used to be shorter, which as far as distance wise they're the same, but they rescaled the map for when you're driving, so it takes you longer to drive from point A to point B than it did before. So it's kind of hard to adjust on time frame now, because I used to be so used. I was like, okay, I can go there in this amount of time, and now I haven't gotten accustomed to the new scale, and so I have a hard time misjudging. But these last couple loads, I've really had no um, real options for loads or distance. It's either been like a really short load or really long loads. So that's why I chose this little load, because I figured I could make one episode out of it, and it wouldn't take too long, or I wouldn't have to put it in two parts. But the other ones I would have. There's no way I could have done one video for the whole thing, but it would have been a long video, and I just don't want to do that. And so it's going to be difficult for me to get accustomed to that and try to figure it out. Hopefully, if I get into different places, I'll have more options for different loads, and I can do like a medium load or something like that, and so it could be a little longer video, but not having to put them in two different parts. Or I might go the long trips and do cut them into parts. If you guys want to see something like that, let me know. If you rather see them in parts, if I should do parts, because I'm trying to do a load per episode is kind of what I'm getting at. And even though that last one was two different episodes, but it was only one load, that's why I put part one, part two. And should I not do that? Am I complicating myself too much by doing that? Should I just go ahead and just drive it and park it, and that's for this episode. Next episode we start it up again and go wherever it may be, or however far we may want to go, and just do it that way? Maybe I'll do it that way. We'll see though. But I don't know exactly. Hopefully, we have some more loads that I can take out of Reno here that we can go down south a little bit. And because in this profile, I don't have the whole map unlocked like I did on my primary, so there's still some cities that I haven't located yet, and dealerships and garages and stuff. So that'll be nice to find those. But well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you liked the episode. If you did, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do. You can follow me on my Twitter account at cowhand45 and hit that bell notification. It'll tell you when I upload a video. And so, if you don't want to miss it, it's up to you. Do what you need to. I don't care. But all right, guys. Well,